This is the General, Part 2, the Homeland Security Profile and Threat Assessment. Okay, we're going to go back into economic hardship and extremism. It says, historically, domestic right-wing extremists have feared, predicted, anticipated catastrophic economic collapse in the United States. Anti-government conspiracy theories and end-times prophecies could motivate extremist individuals and groups to stockpile food, ammunition, and weapons. These teachings have also linked with the radicalization of domestic extremist individuals and groups in the past, such as violent Christian identity organizations and extreme members to the militia movement. I've never had anybody from a militia talk to me that I know of. However, if you're stockpiling food, water, ammunition, and weapons, they're going to have to invent and fabricate something to persecute you with a label and make it a criminal. I will tell you, there will be legislation at some point behind this. Illegal immigration. Oh, this is another love topic. They allow parasites to stay in the country with little enforcement of civil and criminal violations, while if you do it as a citizen, you're held to a higher degree of accountability, and a lot of people are upset. I have people on the West Coast telling me frequently how unfair it is to be American, and the illegal immigrants are allowed to be exempt frequently from accountability in civil court or criminal prosecution at times. But you can't be mad about it. You will get on their list for that. Page 5 of 9. Okay, DHS is Department of Homeland Security. They assess right-wing extremist groups' frustration over perceived lack of government action on illegal immigration has the potential to incite individuals or small groups to violence. See, they're trying to say that the people that are vocally upset about this are at risk to become violent. They're trying to invert this like they're doing everything else. This is a regressive inversion process. The feds love to do it. And they're going to start training the state and the local law enforcement on this. A snitch network. Legislative and judicial drivers. Boy, doesn't that sound DC. Many right-wing extremist groups perceive recent gun control legislation as a threat to their right to bear arms, and in response have increased weapons and ammunition stockpiling, as well as renewed participation in paramilitary training exercises. Such activity, combined with a heightened level of extremist paranoia, has the potential to facilitate criminal activity and violence. Where's the evidence? That's hearsay. They're not putting anything in here, and I couldn't find other records. And I'll have to make some telephone calls and see if I can have some discreetly sent to me. I want to see their studies. I want to see through the bullshit and get to the truth. People know something's happening and it's wrong. We are gone from a republic. They forced democracy and sold it off to the world, and now we're entering into socialism. That says it's no, no, no. But this doesn't mean anything to those corrupt elitists in Washington. We're all disposable. As a taxpayer, they want you as a machine to tax, to fund their agenda. Not what is best for you. And by the way, my family saw on the news this morning on Fox, because I don't watch a lot of TV, that Hillary Clinton wants the United Nations to have empowerment over your children, so the United Nations can tell you how to raise your children and take custody of them if you upset the UN. But by God, don't say anything, because you'll end up on the terrorist list. I see this as toilet paper. That's what I see this as. It's invalid. Now, let's finish up with the legislative and judicial drivers. Open reporting of wartime ammunition shortages has unlikely spurred right-wing extremists as well as law-abiding Americans to make bulk purchases of ammunition. Well, the Second Amendment says you can. They're trying to justify you are a concern because you buy ammunition. Weapons rights and gun control legislation are likely to be hotly contested subjects of political debate in the light of the 2008 Supreme Court's decision, District of Columbia versus Heller. And they go on and on. Get this yourself if you can find it. Perceived threat of rise from other countries. Right-wingist extreme paranoia of foreign regimes could escalate or be magnified in the event of an economic crisis or military confrontation, harkening back to the New World Order conspiracy theories of the late 1990s. See, they're turning this against you. You had Bush Sr., Clinton, Bush Jr., and Obama all documented with footage. A New World Order, a New World Government, but you're not supposed to be upset about it. And they're making you to be some conspiracy nut for saying you don't want anything to do with it. Let's go over to page 7. This is offensive. I take offense to this. Disgruntled military veterans assesses that right-wing extremists will attempt to recruit and radicalize returning veterans in order to exploit their skills and knowledge derived from military training and combat. These skills and knowledge will have the potential to boost the capabilities of extremists, including lone wolves or small terrorist cells, to carry out violence. Presumption. They're speaking off presumption, and they're already labeling, most likely, and keeping an eye on a lot of vets coming back from the wars the elite start. Look at some of the legislation as well on the gun restrictions that are on the floor and attempting to be introduced in the committee on the floor of the House of Representatives and Senate. It's coming right after military veterans. And that's not fair. And by the way, Rahm Emanuel can get up at a Clinton fundraising dinner in public and with steak knives stab the table, die, die, die. And he has the criteria of a sociopath with no remorse, dual citizenship, kick his ass out of the country. He doesn't care about you or the Constitution, but yet he says you have to take a psychological examination, and that, by the way, costs between $300 and $1,500 to have your Second Amendment. And yet, where is his psychological evaluation saying he's stable enough to be chief of staff at the White House and involved in pushing these unconstitutional laws? I have never gotten up and stabbed anything and implied death and destruction to any human being. That's unstable. See the paradox of inequity? They can do whatever the hell they want to, and then they come up with very tight perimeters on you to keep you in line. Now, lone wolves and small terrorist cells. This is subsection on page 7 and 9. They're saying that lone wolves, people who don't do well with others, and small terrorist cells are embracing violent right-wing extremist ideology, are the most dangerous domestic terrorist threat in the United States. No, we've got people that have been elected up in Washington and appointed that are more at risk to destroy your Bill of Rights, your freedom, and your liberty. And I would tell those cowards to their face, I don't have any fear of those punks up in Washington. And how dare them accuse people with no violence of history, no history of violence properly stated, no intent or motive to be violent, and they want to put them in a category as if you are a danger to yourself and others. I make reference to Rahm Emanuel's outburst that's documented, and there's other people up in D.C. with criminal history, and they need to expose that. Let's get back onto it. Page 8 of 9. The Outlook, it just goes ahead and talks about the combination of environmental factors that echo from the 90s. See, they're trying to tie you into McVeigh, Waco, Ruby Ridge, and anything else that was controversial back then, and they're trying to take it up 1 or 2 levels now to use against you. I'm going to cut this and make part 3, and part 3 will be brief. End of part 2. Thank you.